We got a baby crying in the background, which is a nice little thing for a video. Distinguishing between soul and ego, that's the topic for today. So that will give me a little challenge here to speak from the level of my soul. So let's try a little exercise. Let's try a little exercise together. Since this is a vitamin C psychic diary, try a little exercise. I think this can be done for so many things, but let's try together. So obviously we want to make this video interactive. Life's a two-way street, so let's make this video interactive. I'm going to go through the sequence of events that happened today, from when I left home to when I got here to the park. So so let's do a little wind down here. A little wind down, get nice and centered. Feel free to do your own version or do the same. Yeah, that's a bit better. So from the time I left home to the time I got here, what did I do? React that corresponded to my soul. What thought processes did I go through that corresponded to my soul, and what happened where my ego was engaged? Or let's say it like this, like the soul and the ego, they exist on different levels, and it feels like, and let's make this, leave a comment in the comments, because we want to keep this open. As with psychic development, it's about keeping the space open. It's like when we meditate, we want to open the mind. As soon as we close in on one particular point of view, one particular conclusion, then you close the mind. You're closed in on a particular thing. But real psychic development is we have to open the mind, right? Because as with this type of, what can you call it, wisdom tradition, or take your pick, it's the difference between wisdom or psychic development is that we're a seeker. We're only the absolute truth. Only the truth is the authority, right? Whereas typically in a religion, it's probably not the original purpose of religion, but typically in a religion, you have the church is the authority, or or a specific doctrine is the authority. But in the wisdom tradition and the psychic development, we're just seeking the truth. We're seeking the truth of a particular, if we're cultivating a particular skill, whether it's telepathy or telekinesis or electrokinesis or whatever it is. So we're understanding the parameters within which that skill operates, and how to identify what physiological things need to be developed to accommodate for this psychic power, and all these things, right? So it's just about the truth. We can't be imagining or visualizing some fantasy. We have to understand we have to be able to distinguish yin and yang in terms of the actual parameters that we need to work with to cultivate an effective skill, right? And then we need to have a way to test that skill, right? And we need solid empirical ways to determine that for ourselves, not necessarily to compete with others. We can do, but it's more for ourselves, so that we know that, okay, now I have that skill, that gong under my belt, okay, that gong fu under my belt, right? So it is very important to be able to distinguish between the ego and the soul, and it seems like these are, the ego and the soul, it exists on different levels, and this is kind of like a conjugate, right? A conjugate, like a electromagnetic field. You can't have a magnetic field without an electric field. You can't have an electric field without a magnetic field, right? There's a contrast. You can't have hard without soft. You can't have light without dark, There is always a conjugate kind of thing going on here, right? So yeah, you can see where my level is at, It's because I'm aiming to speak more from my soul, and nowadays, obviously, all this a lot of advertisements and advertising method. It's speaking to your ego, right? And it's empowering your ego, and this is how you sell people stuff, is that you speak to their ego, and you pump their ego somehow. It's like, yeah, you got to get this, whereas the soul is just about the truth, Perhaps the soul itself also can be tricked as well, but generally the soul is very much about the truth. What then would be the distinction between the soul and the spirit? It must be that seems to be that the soul is localized within the body, and the spirit that's like Wi-Fi. That's non-local, wireless. Okay, it's non-local. The soul is local. The spirit is non-local, and the soul. We have the soul has obviously memory and everything within the body. The spirit can download stuff from non-locally, and can perceive things non-locally. So that seems to be basically the distinction there between the soul and the spirit. But most of the time, either when we're speaking to someone, we're speaking from the level of the ego, or we're speaking from the level of the soul, or we're speaking to the ego or to the soul. So obviously, in order to cultivate true psychic power, this distinction must be made. Of course, it may stand to reason that, the reason that this distinction must be made is because in order to be trusted with such immense power, psychic power, in order to be entrusted with that, to be given such power from the divine, well, the divine needs to be able to trust you with that power. So you need to be able to make the distinction between your soul and your ego before you can have that power. And that's common, what's the word for that? Lore. It's a common folklore, reoccurring theme within many, kind of an idea that kind of comes up, but it's I guess somehow we can say it like that, but it's deeper than that, It's deeper than that, because obviously there are people running around with psychic power who are probably up to no good, or it is possible to have psychic power and not do anything, and perhaps misuse it, That also comes back to the concept, the fact that in order to develop power, we must actually be able to distinguish in every aspect of life between that which depletes, misleads, confuses, and ultimately leads towards destruction, between that which builds, strengthens, and nurtures, and ultimately leads towards the promised land, or it builds power. If you stay on the right side within every decision that you make in your life, and you always make the decision which corresponds to that which builds, strengthens, and nurtures, and you just avoid that which depletes energy, deteriorates health, in terms of lifestyle, in terms of sleep cycle habits, in terms of social interactions, in terms of the way we think, the way we operate, everything that depletes, misleads, confuses, destroys. Obviously you want to avoid that, right? You want to do that which builds, strengthens, and nurtures. That way your life force energy will start to build, and the different systems of your body, the nervous system, the muscular system, the skeletal system, your energy system, everything is going to start to gradually build to get stronger, right? And then your body's going to have a much better foundation for true psychic power. But that's not to say that you wouldn't be able to abuse it. Obviously you would, because the ego always exists on many different levels. And another way to understand that, it's like, if we say the ego is like the thieves, and when the thieves enter the first floor of the building, and then the police come, the police is our awareness, or our awareness, or our soul, awareness. It comes in to find the thieves, and then the thieves go up a level, and then the awareness goes to the next floor, and then the thieves go right until the thieves are at the top floor, So the same thing happens when we cultivate ourselves to cultivate to the next level of our spiritual development, or of our energetic development, of our martial art, of our psychic power, of our telekinesis, of our telepathy, whatever it is. We open up our awareness one more layer, then the ego actually just goes up one more layer, and then we got an even more kind of intricate dynamic challenge to work with, So that's what that is, So think about it, think about your day to day, and from when you woke up until right now you're watching this video. Think about what you did that corresponded to your soul, and when you were speaking to someone else's soul, and actions that other people did that was actually coming from their soul, and that what was coming from their ego. So for me, I was walking along a busy road here, and there was a girl behind me. I think she was a schoolgirl. She wasn't wearing any uniforms, but sometimes people don't wear uniforms here in New Zealand. And then she was walking quite fast behind me, and I sensed that she was wanting to overtake me. And then I was like, I don't want anyone overtaking me, so I walked a little bit faster, and then she started walking a little bit faster, and then she ran ahead of me. And I was walking quite fast, but then she kind of hopped, skipped, and ran, and then went ahead of me. And then my ego kicked in, and then I, unfortunately I was tempted too much by my ego, so I gave in to my ego, and then I ran ahead of her again, and then started walking even faster. So that's it's funny, it's a kind of a funny thing, but that's one typical example, of when the ego kicks in. It doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman. For women, it's like, usually for women, the ego seems to be like the gatekeeper. For a guy who's approaching a hot chick or a chick or whatever, and um, at some point he feels like, oh, maybe we can exchange phone numbers. He feels that he's about to ask or exchange contacts or whatever. It's almost like first you have to get past the ego, and or if the female ego is given any kind of negative feeling, even a little bit, then boom, it's like no. So that's so if you're a girl, then you know what that's like. It's very difficult to. But I have met some women, and I've been in some situations where the woman, the girl, she was her soul. She was actually in her soul, and she didn't really care what the ego thought, and we still exchanged numbers, even though I didn't do it perfectly, But if she had have been in her ego, then it would have been like, no, you didn't satisfy my ego. You didn't let my ego feel boosted somehow to warrant us connecting on the level of the soul, That seems to be what it is. I will just say I suspect, I have a suspicion. Please confirm that if you think that's right or wrong. But yeah, and then the other thing that happened today when my ego kicked in was that I was walking up to a bus stop, and then there was a lady there, an Asian lady standing, and she had a mask on, and then my ego kicked in, and it's because of several things that's happened today that's kind of perhaps offended my ego. And then as I walked past her, I said, don't, maybe the ear can kill you or something, so, but yeah. So that's very important for me now, to learn how to make the distinction between the ego and the soul. Now, because I gave in to my ego on those two instances there. Now I feel the chi stagnating here. So now I have to, now I have to open it up again. It got stuck, it got closed. When I did that, now I have to, open it again, and that will take time. But soon enough, the channel system, the energy will be free enough, open again, and then it'll be the next opportunity to cultivate the next highest level by making sure that my ego respects my soul, and that it's my soul that that calls the shots. I'm pretty sure that is a more effective way of communication anyway, because the soul is that which corresponds to wisdom anyway. And I'm pretty sure, the ego is like, you can, if you pump someone else's ego, however it is that you do it, and then they will, the what they get from it, and the reason that they connect with you, and that their respect for you, that'll be very short term. I think the ego is very short term, obviously, and then the soul will be more long term, right? So yeah, that's about making that distinction, So yeah, got my dowsing rods here. Okay, show me a no. Show me a yes. Please show me a yes. Yeah. Has that lady, the Asian lady who I spoke to rudely, has she forgiven me yet? She has? Oh. How about the first chick who ran fast behind me? Does she still feel threatened by me? Okay. Will she be able to feel comfortable about this situation soon? Yeah. So that's that.